Okay, so I'm using Duel Links Meta. I hope that's okay. I'm not sure if that's okay with him, with Mr. Decade, Mr. Rob, but I'm going to use it just to show the idea of the Stratos deck that I was talking about earlier. This would be the more ideal version. So we have 3 Aleister the Invoker, 3 Elemental Hero Stratos, then we got a Bubbleman, 1 Winged Kuriboh. I'm going to keep it in because it's Jaden. We got 1 Clayman, 3 Burstinatrix, 2 Invocations, 2 Polymerizations, 2 Canadias, 1 Treacherous, and a Hero Signal. And then the extra deck we would have Core, Nova Master, Invoked Earth, Vision Hero Adoration, Purgatrio, and Cocytus. So then we're going to go down here to 2 Aleister, Invocation, and Winged Kuriboh. Draw. Look at that. Burstinatrix summon. View deck. We'll get a Invocation to our hand. We use Invocation for Burstinatrix, Aleister, and we get Purgatrio on the field. Then we use his effect, blah 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 blah. We get him back into our hands, and then we get him. Can we get him into the deck from here? Deck shuffle. Yeah, and then we can use it. Let's say we use his effect to keep him alive. Draw into Stratos. We would summon Stratos. Then you can get any. Let's say we want. Now we want Cocytus. We get him into our hands. Thanks to this, we can use Invocation with Aleister and Bubbleman. We could get Cocytus in defense mode, obviously. Look at this field, pretty good. Get Hero Signal just in case Stratos is destroyed. We could, let's say he's destroyed. We use Hero Signal. Hero Signal will then let us bring, let's say we want another Stratos or Burstinatrix. We play the card. Now, hold on. Stratos has other effects other than bring a card to your hand that you want. So you can destroy spell trap cards on the field up to the number of hero monsters you control except for this card. So let's say we had a Burstinatrix already on the field, or one of the fusion monsters on the field. That'd be nice. So let's look at another new hand. Burstinatrix, Stratos, Treacherous, Winged Kuriboh. Let's say we set Winged Kuriboh right away. Set him in defense mode. He gets destroyed on the next turn. That sucks. Poor Winged Kuriboh. Hope you don't go OTK'd. Look at that. Aleister. You get Stratos. You get Burstinatrix. Aleister will get you your Invocation. Burstinatrix could be a Purgatrio. Stratos is your key to any other invoked card you want. Maybe you want 2 Burstinatrixes, and then you could. So let's say we summon Stratos. We want a second Burstinatrix. We can't summon the card we want this turn, but look at that. We set this. Maybe he survives an 1800 attack. He attacks, whatever. We Treacherous. We clear the field. We draw. Summon him. We get Invocation to our hand, but we use Invocation, but we get rid of 2 Burstinatrix from our hand, and then we can summon Nova Master, and then set Canadia. There's a lot of different things we can do with this. You can switch a few things up, obviously, but this would be the one I would want to play with the most, would be this makeup of that. Maybe no Winged Kuriboh, we'll add something else in to make it more consistent, like another Polymerization. This guy, Ragin. If we had a wind for this, that would just add, because Stratos is a wind type. That'd be a really cool card to have. Let's remove Core, and then add in, like, I don't know, another Elemental Hero, or another Adoration, maybe a second Purgatrio, you know what I'm saying? But it's a fun deck. I hope people can use it with Stratos. I hope Stratos comes out in a main or mini soon, so I can experiment with this. I really like this deck. It's not for everybody, obviously, but yeah, it's really cool. So I hope you enjoy this little. I don't know if I'm allowed to use Duel Links Meta to show off on my own YouTube channel, but I hope that's okay. Since it's not my content, you should go check it out for Duel Links stuff if you like it. Kind of plug it in, so hopefully that makes it okay. So I got 2 different decks here. The first one is pretty much all the replays, I believe. I don't think that the second deck doesn't have all the replays on it. So I'm going to go through the first one. The first one's pretty rough. It's more of a themed deck, and the second one is a more polished one. But if this one can do well enough on its own, then the other one would do way better. Does that make sense? And I'll explain some more in a second. But we got 3 Aleister the Invokers. We have a Keeper of Dragon Magic. Winged Kuriboh times 3. We got Elemental Hero Bubbleman. We got 2 of them. We got 1 Neos, 2 Clayman, 3 Burstinatrix, main card of the deck kind of, other than Aleister. We got 2 Invocations, we got Fusion Sage, we have 2 Flute of Summoning Kuribohs, 2 Polymerizations. We have, 3, I'm sorry, one of them is an alternate art, 3 Polymerizations. Then for the extra deck, we have Nova Master, Invoked Purgatrio, Magellanica, I don't know, Cocytus, we got Rampart Blaster, Steam Healer, and that is it. So the better version that, if anybody was to use this deck, what should use is 3 Aleisters. We got 2 Winged Kuriboh, kept him in, 2 Bubbleman, 2 Clayman, 3 Burstinatrix still, 2 Invocation, 1 Diffusion, 1 Flute of Summoning Kuriboh, 2 Polymerizations, and 2 Hero Signals. Then we got Nova Master, Purgatrio, Core, Magellanica, Cocytus, Rampart Blaster, and that's it. One of the main parts of this deck is going to be your skill, which is Miracle Draw. So what that does is if you have an elemental hero in your graveyard, you can draw, on your 3rd draw phase, you can draw Pot of Greed, and then you can draw 2 cards. And that's pretty much the only time Pot of Greed is in the game, I believe. If you have Stratos, test it out, see how it goes.
It's time to do.
So this was also during the Duel Carnival event that my Invoked, Dinos video came out at the same time. It was all recorded around the same time. I was just experimenting with different Invocation decks to see what would work. So I get Invocation out, I get to summon Invoked Earth right off the first turn there. So I'm using the first decklist that I showed with Neos and the not so polished version of the deck, just to see how that did first, just constructing a deck for the first time. Who knows what could happen? We're playing against a snipe hunting Dr. Velencrawler Ancient Gear deck, destroying Fortress in order to be able to summon Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon with Snipe Hunter, discarding another card, getting a 6 so that I cannot be destroyed, because it has to be between 2 and 5 if you did not know. A 1? Okay, this is just a really bad Snipe Hunter. He beats down into my Invoked Earth, destroying each other. I should have used Aleister's effect, but I did not because I can't use effects on battle phase with Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon there. I summon my Aleister, use Invocation to use it on Bubbleman, which I just drew, get a Cocytus on the field. Use Invocation to get Aleister back into my hand, Invocation back into my deck, attack into Snipe Hunter, and that's it. They surrender, I guess, without Snipe Hunter, and they suck. Got 2 Polys, Burstinatrix, and Neos, so I get to use the first Polymerization to summon off Nova Master. Yes, Nova Master with Neos and Burstinatrix, and then use Aleister to summon, or to bring an Invocation into my hand. Do I use Invocation right away? I use Invocation, oh yeah, because of the card in the graveyard. That's one of the other plays I didn't mention in the deck profile. That's why there's so many Polymerizations in my deck in the first bit. He Cosmic Cycle into my Invocation for some reason. Anyways, so that's just an OTK. So the idea of the polys is to get, if you get from your hand or field, and then you can use the Invocation from the cards in the graveyard to summon whatever you want to summon, Purgatrio or Earth, based off of what you use for Polymerization material. And one of the problems with this, I was using Kuriboh because it's a Jaden deck. I use Winged Kuriboh because he sees Kuribohs in his sleep or in the daytime or whatever. But it does actually help when you don't have a very good hand. But I get to summon off a Purgatrio right away with a Winged Kuriboh face down. Invocation brings Aleister back into my hand, Invocation back into my deck. Burstinatrix is still in the graveyard. I can use Invocation on her again if I had a second Purgatrio. Do piercing damage onto Ishizu. She summons another monster, uses the Elemental Lord field spell, which is a problem. She attacks into Winged Kuriboh, nothing happens, I can't lose any life points, even though I wouldn't have. I summon a Aleister the Invoker, Elemental Training goes off, and she summons, what's that one's name? Nahu? I use Invocation. Napalu, did something, I was close, I knew what I was talking about, it was that one. Denies my Invocation, so I use the second one. because that's kind of like a Shien, negates 1 spell per turn. I summon Invoked Earth onto the field. I use Invocation to bring Aleister back into my hand. That whole shindig, I don't need to explain that every time. That's it. That's Element Sabers for you against Elemental Heroes. Clearly, the heroes are better. We haven't even get to see the Pot of Greed trick yet. That's my favorite part of this deck. I'll start off with an Aleister and Burstinatrix and Invocation in my hand, so pretty much the best hand you can do for Purgatrio. That's what you're going for. I get to use Invocation to get Purgatrio. That's an Invoked Hero, not an Invoked Hero. That is a Elemental Hero into the graveyard for Pot of Greed later. Use Invocation, Aleister back in the hand, just in case I need to. Whoa, whoa, move the screen. My bad. He uses Red Eye's Insight, gets a Wyvern into the graveyard to bring a fusion, a Red Eye's Fusion, into his hand. Shuffles his deck. He uses the Red Eye's Fusion to summon a Slash Dragon with Buster Blader and Red Eye's Black Dragon. Gets a Slash Dragon. Gives me a little bit of a boost. Cards on the field. When he brings Buster Blader out, I use Aleister on my Purgatrio to boost it. Over him, destroys himself. Doesn't summon Buster Blader onto the field. Set Winged Kuriboh. Use Invocation on the card in the graveyard to summon Invoked Earth. I actually don't know what that card was. I wasn't paying attention to that. Clearly, I'm sorry. I have Aleister. Oh, yeah, card from his graveyard. It was Buster Blader. I attack into him for 300. I forgot Invocation does from the opponent's graveyard. I haven't played Invokers for quite a bit in testing Dark Condition and stuff. I get to go first again, still with no Pot of Greed trick. I don't know. I could have sworn that was the main part of this. I just beat them before I can even use Pot of Greed. I remember using it a lot. I must have not recorded those videos. My bad. Winged Kuriboh saves me if I needed it, but I didn't need it. I get to pull an Aleister, very luckily, bringing that Invocation to my hand. Use Invocation on Burstinatrix and Aleister to summon an Invoked Purgatrio. Purgatrio gets an extra few hundred for the cards on his field. I use Invocation in the graveyard. Get Aleister. I have Fusion Stage if I needed it. He uses a Fusion Trap card to summon Gem Knight Citrine. I actually don't know how to pronounce any of the Gem Knight names. I don't know how to duel against Gem Knights because this is probably the second time I've dueled against Gem Knights. I use Invoker on Purgatrio, attacking the 3/500, and that's it. That's Gem Knights. Well, that is the video. I want to experiment with this more. If I ever get Stratos, if it comes in a box in the future, I'm not going to pay for it with real money. I'd like to see you Stratos build with this deck, and I'm going to keep trying to make it better without Stratos with Jaden and his skills. So if you want to see potentially more Invoked Hero cards, if you have any advice on your own build of an Invoked Hero deck, let me know. I recently started playing with the Vision Hero SR that came in the selection box. I got 2 of those. And that's kind of a fun card to put into this deck, and I might see a video with that in the future, so peace out.
I love you in LA.